Welcome back inside the lab, everybody, to the Thursday episode of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. We got a Game 2 recap, a Game 3 tee-up. Can the Cats stay alive? And will we keep rolling with these big-time bets on Thursday night? Stay tuned and find out. Let's get right to it.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, everybody, and welcome inside the Thursday edition of your source for fantasy hockey news. It's the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, and thank you for making us your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. On today's episode, my friends, we got a Game 2 breakdown. Vegas flexing their muscle. Jonathan Marchessault on a heater. We're going to take a look at some Conn Smythe odds. We're also going to tee up Game 3. Can the Cats make this a series steal? I want to hear what you have to say about this, because the way things are pointing right now, I don't know what their way out of it is. So we're going to talk about that as well and serve up our Thursday night bets. Thank you for joining me, my friend. I appreciate you always riding with me. What did you see in Game 2? I saw a lot of balanced scoring attack from this Vegas Golden Knights team, and they're starting to look very, very comfortable. Hit me with your take on Game 2 before we get to Game 3.
I saw a lot of what we saw in Game 1 from the Vegas Golden Knights, just pure domination all over the ice and at both ends of the ice as well. They do a great job in their defensive zone, supporting one another and breaking out very flawlessly, might I add. Again, watching them break out of their own zone and transitioning through the neutral zone, one of the best, if not the best NHL team to do so in the league right now. And Bruce Cassidy is a huge part of that reason. But what I saw in Game 2 from the Florida Panthers, it seems like they've forgotten the entire game plan Paul Maurice has put them on. And they're not really focused on anything besides the physicality aspect of the series. We've seen it get out of hand time and time again, a lot from the Florida Panthers side of things. And just because you're out hitting and you're out shooting your opponents, it doesn't mean anything when you get pumped 5-2 in the first game and then 7-2 in back-to-back games. It's just not, it's not doing anything, and it doesn't mean anything. You know, when you look at the penalties as well, 130 penalty minutes for the Florida Panthers compared to 82 for the Vegas Golden Knights. So I know there's been a lot of 10-minute game misconducts, guys getting thrown out, you know, high sticking, double minor penalties as well. And you even just look at the power play in the special teams. Florida's 0 for 7 on the power play right now, while Vegas is 4 for 11. They're also one of the best 5-on-5 teams. So when you give them the power play opportunity and you're not capitalizing on your own, everything right now just seems to be the physical aspect for the Florida Panthers. I love Paul Maurice. He needs to get his team to relax and calm down a little bit. Don't get so focused on running around and finishing that check. We know that's a part of the game. You have to finish your check. You have to let your opponent know that you're going to be there all the time. But these constant high sticking penalties, the one that Ryan Lombard got the other day that got Vegas going on the scoreboard in Game 2, Jonathan Marchessault just firing on all cylinders right now. You can't take the dumb penalties, but it's the physicality aspect that they're getting caught on right now. They're running around trying to finish their checks, which they need to do, but they got to calm down and relax a little bit.
Very first of all, I agree with you wholeheartedly about the physicality take. They out-hit Vegas 44-24 in Game 2, but it almost played right into Vegas's hands. And we saw this actually happen quite a bit, Steele, in the Edmonton series. Edmonton tried to take that physicality up a notch against Vegas, and they have some big boys back there. Haig, Pietrangelo, White Cloud's even a big lad. There's a lot of big bodies.
Martinez, McNabb, big guys.
That's Theodore even has his size. Look, this is now starting to really play into the hands of the Vegas Golden Knights. Panthers go 0 for 4 on the power play. These are some of the things. somebody's got to lose, right, Steele? There isn't
Yeah.
going to be a Cinderella story all the way through. Something is going to run dry, and right now it's going that way for the Florida Panthers, and they're going to have to turn it around really quick. We're going to get to Game 3 in a sec. We'll get to the bets. We got the Conn Smythe odds we got to get to as well, Steele, because there's a couple of interesting spots that you might want to sprinkle a couple of bucks. But right back to another point that you brought up. Jonathan Marchessault, 11 goals. Now, this is kind of one of those storylines, Steele, let go by the Florida Panthers a couple of years ago. He has been better. It's not just about the revenge angle. He's been doing this now for a couple of series. But this is the kind of thing that fantasy-wise, let's watch out with what Marchessault, his value does, because this is what happens in the postseason, right? Guys get a lot of attention. Guys get a lot of media hype. And you go into next draft and you maybe take him a little bit too high. Steele and I are going to break down a lot of these angles throughout the offseason. So make sure you're tuned and tapped into that. Make sure you're also tuned into tomorrow's episode. Returning special guest, Mr. Josh Wegman, fantasy guru of The Score, will be on. But Steele, before we get to Game 3 and all the business, I think at the end of the day, a lot was said about the rest for the Florida Panthers. A lot was said about the rest for Sergei Bobrovsky. But I think what you're seeing right now is the comfort level of the Vegas Golden Knights coming in hot after their previous series. They just look so very comfortable. And 20 blocked shots to 11 of the Florida Panthers. They are laying their body out in the proper way.
Yeah, and it goes back to what, even when, Florida Panthers beat the Carolina Hurricanes, and they were talking about having that rest. All the rest you can get makes the difference in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And sometimes it makes a difference in a negative way. And we've seen that. The Florida Panthers were running very high after the Game 7 win against the Boston Bruins, and they took that momentum into the Maple Leaf series, beat them in 5, into the Carolina Hurricane series, beat them in 4, and then they had 3, 4, 5 days of rest where they were just, getting back to, full health. And sometimes when you're not on the ice and in game playoff mode still, it takes the energy out of the building, out of the players, out of the coaches. And we saw that in Game 1. We saw pure domination again in Game 2 from the Vegas Golden Knights. So sometimes rest doesn't always mean the best thing in the playoffs.
100%, pal. And now clearly momentum has shifted in favor of the Vegas Golden Knights. If there was any headed into this series for the Florida Panthers, it's been eradicated by some very solid and balanced play. So you got Marchessault scoring, Martinez, Waugh, Howden. Marchessault gets 2, Amadio gets 1. There is just a scoring attack now to be really bragged about here, Steele. They're getting it done by committee. It's going to be hard to stop. It's going to be hard to stop us coming out of the break when we have to talk about Game 3. We're teeing it up, baby. It's headed back to South Florida. Also, side note, what a time to be alive in South Florida, baby.
Yeah.
Jimmy Buckets in the Heat making some noise, Steele. Let's see what happens in that series. Anyway, we'll also tee up our
real quick. I don't know if you heard this, but Lionel Messi also going to Inter Miami as well. So South Beach is just having the best time of their life right now.
If we're going down this conversation, how goat of a move is it that Messi says no thank you to the Saudi money, even after Ronaldo took it, and he goes to the MLS? Goat conversation is now closed.
Yeah, unbelievable move from Messi.
Thank you. GOAT conversation is going to continue right after the break with the conversation that I just teed up. But today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. And Steele and I love using the Game Time app because you never want to be stressed out when you're buying tickets for your favorite event. Rushing to see a concert? No. You want the Game Time app. Browse through it today and make sure you're buying tickets for your favorite event without the stress. It's the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets for all your sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and the best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over tickets and start getting hyped up for all the fun you are going to have. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. And the Game Time guarantee means you will always get the best price. And if you don't, and you find tickets in your same section or row for less, Game Time credits you for 110% of the difference. So make sure you snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. You can create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets. Lowest price guaranteed.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your favorite team from all 4 major sports leagues and the NCAA, your team every single day. And like Flip said, make sure you're tuning in for tomorrow with special guest Josh Wegman of The Score. He'll be joining us, breaking down everything Stanley Cup playoff-wise. Flip's got the rundown going for tomorrow. He's got everything prepared for good buddy Josh Wegman back on the show. We love having him on. Moving forward, though, of course, we've got the Conn Smythe odds at the end of the episode with big time bets. But teeing up Game 3 action, heading back to Florida, FLA Live Arena.
Yes, sir.
Down 0-2 to the Vegas Golden Knights. Florida Panthers, can they turn this series around and, just at least get 1, hopefully get 2 to tie up the series? You said that this was going 7 games. How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling like I made a big bad mistake. And what have I done all year long, though, Steele? I've been wrong about the Vegas Golden Knights. And I think there's been a popular take on there's not a lot of people who were right about the Florida Panthers.
Exactly.
So I'm not going to go down that route, but I have been wrong about this Vegas Golden Knights team. And here I am once again. And seriously, it's just such a good story. Aiden Hill is playing himself into a nice little contract next year. I'm going to say 2 or 3 years at about 3.54 million. Some team's going to throw it to him. Most likely Vegas, especially if he brings home a cup, Steele. Why not? Yeah. That's number one. Also, if you're believing in what Vegas is saying here for this series, Vegas betting odds, the Golden Knights are minus 550 favorites. And I believe the number I saw on TSN this morning was teams going up 2-0 in the Stanley Cup win 89% of the Stanley Cups. So I'm not feeling good about my Florida Panthers prediction, Steele. And we will get to big time bets in a second. But I think the key here for this Florida Panthers team is simple. Matthew Tkachuk has to be himself. He's got to play that edge that we know he plays with, agitating without taking penalties, being physical without detracting from the team, and he's got to be timely with the goals. Yeah, he scored in Game 2, but it was almost way too late. It was garbage time.
I think it was 6-1 at the time, or 6-2 after he scored. But the game was
something like
over.
That. The game's over. So he's got to be effective, and when he has been effective, this is a broken record. The swagger comes from Matthew Tkachuk. It doesn't come from Verhaeghe. It doesn't come from Montour. It comes from number 19, and he has got to set the tone early. Maybe the crowd steal. I think that was another one. You and I talk a lot about different angles for betting. I don't usually talk about the crowd, but I think, given what we alluded to before the break, with that madness down in South Florida right now, that crowd could be a difference maker, especially off the jump, if Tkachuk can set the tone. And they got to score on special teams. So those are my key factors for Game 3.
I love that angle because we saw how the crowd changed the atmosphere in Vegas as well at T-Mobile. The crowd was electric. Even
you've
some of
been in that crowd.
Yeah, it's unbelievable being at T-Mobile, especially at these type of events, Stanley Cup playoffs, UFC, whatever the event is. It's just an incredible atmosphere there. And I wholeheartedly agree with you on the Matthew Tkachuk take. I think, again, everything sort of runs through him. So when his teammates see him losing his cool, again, the Jack Eichel hit, that was a clean hit, but it was again, you're down 6-2, your teammates are going to stand up for you. That was a clean hit from Tkachuk. But when you as teammates see your top scorer and best performing player just run out there and take 10-minute game misconducts, get thrown out of 2 games in a row, constant penalties, that's going to trickle down. It's the trickle down effect. It's going to affect the other guys throughout the lineup. So I'm right there with you with Matthew Tkachuk. But with on top of that, again, Brandon Montour and some of like Aaron Ekblad, Gustav Forsling, they need to be better. Brandon Montour was probably the biggest reason why they beat the Boston Bruins in the first round. I know there was a lot.
Sure.
He was one of them, but to me, the biggest, because he got the game time goal in the last minute. He was beast mode. And as the series or as the playoffs have gone on, it just doesn't seem like he's not there anymore like the first round we saw. So I think the defensive group as a whole, from the Florida Panthers needs to be little bit better.
Good
so
point.
I'm right there with you with Matthew Tkachuk. He needs to get his mind proper. He needs to stay focused. Can't be running around like a headless chicken anymore.
Well,
can't be charging guys. Cannot be doing that. Stay out of the box.
It's also just because of how reliant this team has become on him being the opposite. Right? They've looked to him as the talisman. They've looked to him as the guy in the big moments, comeback goals, game-winning goals, OT goals, series-winning goals. He's been doing it all. So when they're, and they are a relatively, I know they have some veterans in there, but they are a relatively inexperienced group. And so when you have your quote-unquote leadership running around like that, Steele, these things are going to start to add up. And now how about this? How about Bobrovsky has a bad start to game 3? This series is over, Steele. It's going to be done in 4. I said 7. This is just what happens now. You can't go down 2. But what do they also say? You're in it until you lose at home. Let's see what happens, though. And let's see what happens after the break, because I'm ready to talk bets, and I would love to have a little peek-see with you at these Conn Smythe odds, because I got a little bit of a bold take for you that I think you're going to like.
I can't wait for these Conn Smythe odds too, because they've already fluctuated a ton already. I can't wait to talk about Jonathan Marchessault. But yeah, big time bets coming up next. This episode, though, is also brought to you by our friends at Bird Dog. They are the comfiest pair of pants or shorts you will ever wear. Summertime shorts that you definitely need for this summer. You'll look great and you'll feel better with Bird Dogs. They're built for comfort and for versatility. Bird Dogs give you the freedom to wear their pants for any type of occasion. Go out on the links with your friends for 4 hours playing golf. Go out on a date with your significant other, business meeting, whatever you want. You can wear Bird Dogs because they are the comfiest pair of shorts and pants you'll find. And the built-in liners are a game changer. It's why I have another order. Again, another one. I'm getting bathing suits this time on top of the gym shorts I got a week ago. I love the Bird Dog so far, and they have different varieties of styles, clothing like khaki shorts, Oxford shorts, bathing suits, joggers, and khakis. The greatest names you'll ever find for shorts and pants as well. So go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL. And when you enter promo code LockedOnNHL, they'll throw in a free custom Bird Dogs Yeti style tumbler with every order. I'm using it every morning when I wake up with my AG1 as well, baby. Woo! So love the Yeti style tumbler with every order. But go to birddogs.com, use promo code LockedOnNHL, and they'll give you that Yeti style tumbler with every order. And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Don't forget, we are free and available on your favorite podcast platform, including YouTube. So hit the subscribe, hit the follow button. Flip and I appreciate all the support and all the love you show us every single day. Flip, Conn Smythe trophy odds right now, continuously being updated. I've got the top 6 players right now. And I can't exactly remember what the odds were at before the Stanley Cup playoffs or the Stanley Cup Final started. But I don't think Jonathan Marchessault was at -105.
No.
So Jonathan Marchessault is leading the pack by a significant amount right now at -105. If I had to guess, I think he was at like plus 1,500 or plus 2,000.
Could have been more. And here's my thing, though, Steele. Is he the hot topic right now? For sure. Is he deserved to be right there as a favorite? For sure. But there is 2 games minimum left to be played here. And I want to hit you with this take. Let's just say it's a sweep and there's only 4 games to be played. And he goes ice cold in 2. Let alone this series goes 5 or 6 and he doesn't do too much and other players do, like Mr. Jack Eichel, who is right there on. Actually, he's up 1 point on Marchessault for the postseason lead for the Vegas Golden Knights. Before the last 2 games, and even in the last 2 games, he has been just as important to that offensive attack. 4 assists in his last 2 games. So I'm just saying. And also, don't forget about these numbers by a little guy named Adin Hill in this postseason Steele. And actually, right there at plus 450, Adin Hill is 9-3 with a .937 save percentage this postseason. And how about a 2.06 goals against? And I'll leave it at this. The NHL likes a good story. Jean-Sebastien Giguère won this Conn Smythe in a losing fashion a number of years ago. It will go to the player who was the best in the series.
Yes.
So I wouldn't count it out just yet, is what I wanted to hit you with. So, Marchessault, deserved favorite, okay. But betting-wise, Eichel's getting some piece, and Adin Hill is going to get a 20 from me as well.
I think at plus 550 for Jack Eichel, definitely throw a $20 bill on Jack Eichel for the Conn Smythe, as well as Adin Hill at plus
Why not?
450. I sent it. This is a little side note, but I sent this to you the other day over Instagram. That little side, little side weird fact though from a trade a few years ago. 20 years ago, San Jose traded away its number 3 goalie, Mika Kiprusoff, who had just turned 27 for a draft pick. He promptly led his new team to the Stanley Cup Final and nearly won the Conn Smythe. 10 months ago, San Jose traded away its number 3 goalie in Adin Hill, 26, turning 27, for a draft pick. And now he's also in the Stanley Cup Finals, on the verge of winning a Conn Smythe potentially as well. I wouldn't put it past him. At this point, the stats, the record, 9-3. It's just been incredible from Adin Hill. So I'm definitely throwing at least $40 on 20 on Eichel and 20 on Adin Hill.
Why not? And hey, just like my favorite soul singer from Jamaica, Pop can say, the number don't lie. You get me? Look, 937 save percentage. He has been huge in pivotal moments. He's got some of the saves of the postseason, which I know means nothing when it comes to like getting it done and winning each night. But he's got a little bit of everything going on still. And the swagger, he's got it.
He made the save of the year. Save of the year on Nick Cousins.
Look,
that was incredible.
And have a look. The swagger is now with his team.
Yep.
They've gone in there and taken that swagger, and that's what you mentioned it. Florida had it running off Boston. They definitely had it after running through Toronto. And after they took down Carolina in neat and tidy fashion, they came into this series as confident as ever, and now that's gone. So, hey, why don't we talk about big-time bets? Because my confidence is quite high with that.
Big time bets for sure. I'm very confident as well. Jack Eichel, another 2-assist night banged out for me. Vegas money line banged out for me. The under.
I had the over, thankfully.
Yeah, you had the over. So
salvaged my night.
Side bets canceled out. We both won $10, so no money earned from either one of us. But maybe we'll have a couple more side bets for Game 3 action flip. I'm excited to hear what you have to say. What's your first?
Yeah, hit me. Why don't you just let me? Yeah, let me fire this off because shouts to our friends at FanDuel. This is a same game parlay for me.
There we go.
I do have my favorite pick, but it's not my lock. I'll start with it. I think you're going to see another high-scoring game. I think it's going to be another 4-2, a 4-2, no problem, maybe even 4-3. I just think that what you have seen from this inability from the Florida Panthers to capitalize on the power play, I think that's going to end. And I think because of how physical these teams have been, you are going to see some players take dumb penalties. There's just too charged up of a series. There's too many big boys running their weight around out there. So that might be a weird angle, but I think you're going to see special teams really kill it. That leads to an over. That's my favorite pick, minus 140 at 5.5. And this is why I'm doing the same game parlay. Vegas on the point spread plus 1.5 is minus 245. But I want to cop out on this one, Steele, because I think this will be a close 1-goal game. So give me Vegas with that over. And my second favorite pick of the night, I went back and forth. Right now, Eichel, anytime assist. You're getting plus money right now, Steele. The guy has 4 assists in his last 2 games. So over 5.5. Vegas plus 1.5. And Eichel anytime assist, I might, the wife might be listening downstairs. I might have to put a big chunk on this bad boy because I'm really, really feeling my 3 bets.
I like that last bet, your lock of the night, a lot. Jack Eichel anytime assist is also my lock of the night at plus 104. You said it yourself. The guy, he's pretty much getting an assist every single night. He's had 2 assists the last 2 games. So that's the lock of the night. And at plus money, you're getting great odds. And you're most likely going to get an assist out of Jack Eichel, whether it's on the power play or 5-on-5. I'm there with you. That's my lock of the night. I'm staying away from the over and under for this time. Didn't pan out last game. It worked out game 1. So I'm going to stay away from it. I've got two player props. The Eichel anytime assist is one of them. Second player prop, Jonathan Marchessault over 3.5 shots at plus 126 as well. He had 4 shots last game, and the 4 previous to that, he had 3 shots. So I think I think they're the Vegas's top guys. They see the Stanley Cup in sight. They're 2 wins away from it.
Oh, it's in sight.
It's in sight. I think game 3 is so crucial for them just to go up 3-0. And then, if they end up going back to Vegas for game 5, they can win the Stanley Cup in their city at home at T-Mobile. I think they come out and win game 3 as well. So I've got Vegas on the money line at plus 102. Vegas money line plus 102. Eichel anytime assist plus 104. And Marchessault over 3.5 shots at plus 126. So I've got 3 underdogs going into game 3.
I like it, Steele. It's going to have to be more of a battle than what we've seen, especially in game 2. We know game 1, the score wasn't super indicative. It was a lot closer than that 5-2 result, but it got away from them in the end the same way. A couple of bounces, and that's what's going to happen, especially when you're a couple of key performers, especially Matthew Tkachuk. He's got to step up. Let's see if he responds in game 3.
Yeah, very excited to see what type of Matthew Tkachuk we are going to get. Hopefully it's the leadership and the guy who just does everything for them. And, obviously you need some other guys. I talked about the defensive group for the Panthers as well. They need to be a lot better, actually. So very excited for game 3 action tonight in Florida at FLA Live Arena. Can't express this enough. It's the Stanley Cup Finals. This is what we wait for all year long. Who's going to take it, Vegas or Florida? And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Make sure you're tuning in Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock in the morning Eastern time is when you can find our episodes on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube. So hit the subscribe, hit the follow button. And thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Have a great day. Good luck with all your bets out there. And we shall see you back here again tomorrow.